Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good morning if you're on the West Coast. It is Tuesday, and which means that we're back here with Amber Hurdle, and I'm excited. However, I'm a little sad because this is the last of our series with her this time around. But some of us are going to be joining her on the Velvet Machete Leadership Academy, which we'll talk about later. But she will also be at the Women's Summit with us in December, and we'll probably bring her back in to do a few things between now and then. So if you haven't been following this series, the videos are live on Vimeo. You just have to look at Vacation Rental Women and you can find them, or Amber Hurdle, and they're there. So Amber has been working with celebrities and with Fortune 100 companies as a speaker, as a talent optimization consultant, and as CEO of her own company, Amber Hurdle Consulting. She also has authored the book, The Bombshell Businesswoman, which is really good, by the way. And I'm so excited because I actually have, at the end of it, there's about hiring new employees. And that's been really helpful for me since I have a big one coming on like next month. So I appreciate that. And the other thing is she's also the founder of the I never say that right, Velvet Machete Leadership Academy. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the first two sessions, we've discussed a lot about growing as a thought leader, about building our brand. Um, the magazine is out, by the way. The magazine is in the mail officially, and she has written an article in it about building your brand. And it's the same principles about building your own personal brand as it is about building your business brand. And a lot of times those things are actually the same when I'm learning through the book. So a lot of who we are who we are as leaders is also who we are as business women, and what it's the culture that carries through our brand and creates our brand promise. We've also discussed a whole lot about what makes us special, and what makes us, unique, and the kind of services that we can offer. So if you haven't seen those two sessions, I highly recommend you doing this. But Amber, while I'm sad, this is our last one. Welcome. I am so grateful to be here with you. Some of us have been following you on Facebook, so we know you've had some challenges this week with your son being in the hospital, and we've been thinking about you and praying for you. So
Thank you.
anyway, welcome, and I will turn this over to you.
All right. Well, thanks for having me back. Also, A plus on doing your homework because you made so many connections in that book that I didn't even necessarily intentionally draw those connections and made them myself. So well done, Amy. And I too, I woke up this morning and I was like, I'm kind of bummed. I don't get to hang out with these cool women anymore. It's been a fun 3 weeks, and I love the intention that you all have and the support that you show each other in the Facebook group and on LinkedIn. I mean, you are a powerhouse group of women. So I'm just privileged and grateful to be among you. So just to dive right in today, I've set my Apple Watch timer to make sure that I am uh, staying on task so we have time for questions at the end, or if Amy has any more announcements. So let's dive right in. Let me see. I need to hold, please. Well, I lost my screen. Here we go. All right. Here we go. All right. So, what we're going to be talking about today is creating content fast. So, whether you are doing this because you are wanting to step into that thought leadership that we talked about in our first time together, or if you have a team member, an intern, a child, a friend who happens to like doing this kind of stuff, or if you have an actual department that handles this, this is the quick and easy way to ensure that you can create articles, blog posts, social media posts, and so much more. We obviously, in the time that we have allotted, we're not really going to be able to get into the nitty gritty of it, but I'm going to give you real high level of how you can move forward and put a check in this box. So today you're going to learn the processes that professionals use to create months and months of content in a single day. You will also be able to understand, where do I find the time to do this? How much time do I need? And then also, it'll help you become known as an expert because you're going to be very clear on what it is that you're sharing. So the first thing we have to do, let's roll back, to the very first time we were together, where we talked about thought leadership and we talked about what is it that you want to be known for? How can you uniquely be known in your industry? And so I call it a SME, a subject matter expert. You are a subject matter expert in something, and then we're also going to put that key differentiator on that SME persona so that it's not just you're an expert in revenue management, you're an expert in revenue management who also whatever that unique and special thing is for you. So for example, if you were not a part of that particular if you haven't watched that video, if you weren't a part of that particular webinar that day, I am a professional speaker, I'm a consultant, and I do all of these things with a key differentiator of coming at it because I learned so much of what I do now from being a teen mom. So other people can't take my stories and then apply it to their expertise or their expert positioning that is unique to me. So I don't want to stay too much in that because you can go back and watch that video. We talked extensively about it, but you really do need to understand how am I positioning myself or my company first before you can start getting into these next steps. So step number 2 is to define your buckets. Now, what does that look like? What do you mean, Amber? Buckets, is there a leak somewhere? You could talk about anything, and that would be way overwhelming. And I'm sure that's where many of you are right now. If you're overwhelmed by the sheer volume of what you could talk about as a thought leader, let us know in the comments. I can't see them, but I know that Amy can. So I'm gonna see if I can pull questions up. And
I'm overwhelmed. Let's see.
right? Because it's like all the things. It's like when you go to one of those Italian restaurants that has 38,000 or a Greek restaurant that have 38,000, options on the menu, and you're like, what do I do? What do I order? It's overwhelming. And so we need to define what your buckets are. Now, I'm gonna get my slides together here. For you, it's important to understand the areas in which you are interested and the areas in which the people who follow you are interested. So using myself as an example of all the things that I could talk about in terms of leadership, I know that my people who come to me are looking for how do I become more of a confident leader? How do I work on my personal brand? How do I put systems in place? They might not know this. We call it build strong environments. They might not know that that's what they want, but they do feel frazzled. They want a roadmap. They want to know, how do I negate the areas of me that are more fragile? And so we call it bubble wrapping. We don't like to talk about weaknesses. So that's another bucket. Another bucket, and this is all on the Velvet Machete leadership journey, is communication. Another is engagement. Another is influence. And then we have buckets like humor, visual quotes, written quotes. So we have all these different categories that we start looking for information, or we start brainstorming so that they fit into those categories. Now, I have a lot. I've been around the block for a while. Also, I have a PR degree. I went to journalism school, and I have a marketing person who also has a PR degree. So we are a little more complex than the average person. I would say start out with whatever your subject matter expertise is on, and then maybe enhance it with some complementary, maybe 1 or 2 complementary, and then have some other buckets as well. And I'm going to break that down here in just a minute, because once you understand your buckets, so here are the things that I need to fill with topics. If we just started with topics and we didn't bucket them into areas where it just made sense of how we're going to present that information, how we're going to collect data to support our topics, it would still be so overwhelming, because when you look at topics, it's like all the topics are an option, as opposed to that topic doesn't really fit one of our buckets. So let's not pursue that right now. Let's put that in the parking lot, and maybe in the future we'll deal with that. Now, when you're looking for topics to discuss to fit into your buckets, maybe you're the most creative person ever and you can list 100 different things right off the bat. Most of us are a little frazzled at this point, especially as we are rolling into the end of 2020. We're a little exhausted from the roller coaster that we've been on. And so I got you, girl. Okay. And guys, if you're on here, here's where you can search and explore. First, we all have those questions that we're asked repeatedly. You know what this is. And so I want you to immediately start your brainstorming sheet of the type of content you can create by simply answering the questions that you get asked over and over and over again, whether it's by customers, whether it's by your peers, whatever that looks like, start with that. Then I want you to think about the common problems that people in your industry have, or whoever it is that you're serving. As we're talking about thought leadership within the vacation rental industry, I'm going to speak in those terms, but this could also be for your customers and that sort of thing. So you want to answer their common questions. And the way to do that as a thought leader in your industry is get into Amy's group. Start looking at the questions people are asking. Start looking at the responses people are responding with. What are the conversations that are being had, and what themes can you find? There are other Facebook groups, LinkedIn, other forums that you're involved in. When people are live tweeting during virtual events and that sort of thing, be aware, jot those down, keep it. But the favorite thing I love to do is I use this little guy right here. And this is where I keep my just random ideas. And so I have different folders in my notes, and one is content. And so I might have one that is labeled Velvet Machete Leadership Academy. And if I hear or see something that I want to include in the academy, then I'll just make a quick little note and where I can find it later. It's all right here, just like anything else. We all live on these things, right? So it doesn't have to be that hard. I also encourage you to search Amazon. Not necessarily for entire books, but the cool thing you can do is look at the chapter titles. What are the books in your industry? Or again, if you're doing this for marketing your company, what are the books that are advising people to go on vacations and to use vacation rentals? And what are the travel hacks and all those type of things? What are the chapters? Because the chapter titles are typically those key topics that they're going to break down for an entire chapter in a book. So I guarantee you can get like 3, 4, 5 blog posts or videos out of that, right? I'm not saying steal people's content. I'm just saying get ideas from what they have determined is valuable enough to put it into a book and then sell it to people. The other thing that you can do is search on YouTube. So just search whatever term it is that you're starting with. And then the magical thing that happens is in the sidebar, you get, I don't know, you could probably see 6, 7, 8 suggested videos that are related to that initial video. So maybe you search how to increase occupancy. I don't know. That could be it. In vacation rentals. And then the other one might have something to do with revenue management. And then maybe there's another one that might have to do with housekeeping practices. Maybe it has something to do with the type of, I don't know, software that you use, but that will generate more ideas, probably ideas you would have never even thought of. YouTube is a very magical place to explore. And then of course, ask your professional peers, ask your own employees, ask your customers, ask your family, like, what do I complain about every day? What am I griping about when I come home from work? Those are typically areas where you can start. Now, the other thing that I want you to do is fill in the gaps. So when we're talking about social media, if it's always about me, people are going to get tired of that. So it can't all be that way, or you will look like a self-promoter. And remember, when we first met, when I was actually in a vacation rental myself, well, it was my beach house, but it was on the beach, and it is where we go to retreat. That ability to step into thought leadership, to be that SME, that subject matter expert, is an act of service. And so I know the fear is I don't want to look self-serving. Here's how you fix that. Here's how you avoid looking self-serving. You fill in the gaps of your content, or even within your content, by leveraging other thought leaders. So obviously this is someone we all know. Think about who the other thought leaders are, not even necessarily in your industry. So a little birdie told me that all of you are way into Brene Brown, which I don't know anyone who isn't. We all love Brene Brown. Mel Robbins, people that are in my industry that you can repost what they share. You can recommend their books. You can maybe do a quick video on why you read this or watched this. You can take their content and then put your thought leadership around it but it's not about you, it's about them. And it's just about your perception of that. And then you can encourage people to watch that as well. And this is also another area where we pull quotes and that sort of thing to create our visual quotes. You always see, like, in Instagram, there's like social media needs more inspirational quotes on it, but it kind of does, because that increases your engagement. So if you're doing things like that, or you're doing relatable humor, that is going to get people to respond, and then they'll pay more attention because your original content, where you're positioning yourself as a thought leader, will show up in the algorithm more frequently. Now, the next step, and I'm going through this fast. I'm pretty impressed with myself. I'm usually like going right up against the time. The next step is to create the content. So this, everybody, deep breath in, deep breath out. This is where the rubber meets the road. How many people who are on this call right now, we have a lot of people on here, get overwhelmed or think there is no time to create the content? I'm going to give you just a second and have Amy help me out here.
Yep. Amen, sister. Me.
Okay, so where do you get stuck? Let's just get a couple little popcorn immediately.
You have tips on being focused. Good grief, yes. I'm sorry, what's up?
Where do you get stuck when you start to want to create content? Where do you get stuck?
I open the document to write and then freeze, says Taya. The creating the space and time to devote to it, the first sentence, trying to put the time on my calendar to creating the space, coming up with an original idea. My mind spins in a million directions. I can't hone in or carve out time regularly. Prioritizing is tough. I tell you where I personally, I created a shit ton of content. Like,
yeah, you do.
is, I start researching, what I want to do, and then I get lost in the research, and then the whole thing is gone. Like, so,
Yeah.
Because one window in Google turns into another window and another tab in Google really quickly, and then you're gone into black hole rabbit hole. I'm reading some more.
Yeah.
I get stuck in thinking the way it always has to be perfect before posting. That over analysis of content, me too, Pat. Waiting to write more than Instagram may allow to explain something down the rabbit hole. Attention deficit disorder. We all need some Ritalin in this group anyway. So,
we don't want to numb our superpower. You can have hyper focus, but also ADD is such a beautiful gift in being able to juggle a lot. And I think when you're in hospitality, it's almost a prerequisite that you have ADD. So I just want to look at all of you in the eyes real quick and let you know that you are not saving babies here. You're just creating content. And so it is super overwhelming to sit down without some of these other steps in place and just create something out of nowhere. But that's why you first go and you say, okay, what am I an expert in? Where am I just going to hang out? What zip code am I going to live in the world of all of this content? I'm not going to try to go be in New York when I'm in Tennessee or Alabama. I'm going to stay in my little lane here. Okay. Then you create those buckets so you have a way to categorize the information, and then take the time, take a couple hours and go down the rabbit trail, go searching for things and give yourself permission. That is a different side of your brain that is going to be hunting for that information than the side of your brain that's going to be creating more of a sometimes technical type communication. So your body copy needs to be one sitting, your exploration and your adventure needs to be in a different setting, so if that makes sense. Now, when you're thinking about where do I find the time, you've got to batch this. This is why I want you to just sit down for a half a day and you're like, where am I going to find a half a day? You got to find it. Listen, you have to find it. You will find time to do the things that are important. And so if this is important to you, then find the time. Block off your calendar, tell your team you can't, take a Sunday, pour a glass of wine, do whatever you need to do. Sometimes I go on work vacations and I will go to the beach house to just work, to get away from everything, and I will just work. Sometimes I'll get a hotel room right here in Nashville. I might stay at Opryland or something and just work all by myself at night and wake up the next morning and come home. But that is time that's just for me, and maybe I get a massage, I know, do a little bougie stuff, and then we'll go from there. So That said, when we create the content and we have this time set aside by ourselves or with our team, we just need to have, for every topic that you have, remember we have our buckets and then we have topics underneath those buckets. All you have to do is state your expert opinion. So if we are talking about how COVID-19 has impacted the vacation rental industry in the Gulf of Mexico, what is your expert opinion on that? This is back to junior high, y'all. This is just your thesis statement. This is what you think. And then you just back it up with 3 key thoughts. Most people cannot retain more than 3 key thoughts. So don't feel like you have to go off the rails with all kinds of evidence and everything. But if you can back it up, and I didn't put this in the slide, write this down. If you can pack it up with some relevant statistic, don't bring a statistic from 1983. Lonnie Anderson can keep that. We don't need that. Burt Reynolds can have that. Back it up with the most relevant data that you can possibly find while you're on your little hunt. And then also, case studies are beautiful examples because, again, that's storytelling. We talked about that before as well. So if you can back it up not just with your opinion, but with other things that support that opinion, now you're just basically creating an outline. Here's my opinion. Here are the 3 things on the internet that I found that back up that opinion, or here's one thing that I found on the internet, and here's another story of a customer that I had or an experience that we had with an employee or whatever that looked like. Protect the names, of course, of people, and then wrap it up with a call to action. So you kind of just back up and say, this is what we just talked about, and here's what I want you to do with this information. That's really important because nowadays what are we taught to do? Scroll here, swipe right, click here. We're always told what to do next. And so you need to tell people what to do next. What do you want them to do with this information? Now, repurpose like a lady boss. This is critical. Otherwise, you are going to be going back to the drawing board over and over and over and over again. So let's just say that I create a piece of core content. I create a YouTube video. I'm talking about how to attract the right talent. So I'm going to break down how to create an ideal employee profile, just like a company would create an ideal customer profile, because how we do marketing and branding externally is truly how we should be doing it internally. So that is my opinion. And then I either break it up with the facts or the how-to. So that's another option as well. What are the steps to get that done? And then we will take that video, and Abby will then turn around. Abby's on my team. She's my marketing PR manager. She'll turn around and create a blog post out of that. Okay, so now we have 2 pieces of content. And then she will take that one piece of content and she will pull words out of it that are acceptable to promote on social media. So it might be a little bit different for Facebook than LinkedIn than Twitter. You do not have to be that sophisticated. I don't care what expert tells you you have to be or you're irrelevant. Just start with one piece of content that you will share on every platform. Now, if you're sharing things on Instagram, you can put videos in there, or you can take the next step number 3, and create visuals around it. So Abby might also put one of the thoughts into, go to my Facebook page right now. There's something on there today. She might take something that I said before, maybe out of the book, maybe on a video, whatever, and she will create content around that that's visual, and then have something else that she says that is from me that will be the caption for that. And you can do that on Instagram as well. And you can always say, for the full blog post or for the full video, check the link in my bio. Now you can change that link all the time if you love to have time to do that, or you can just create like a link tree. It's a tool that you can use, like $5 a month, or you can have a place on your website where you're constantly updating the different things that you're referencing in your Instagram account. So we want to create the core content, see how else we can repurpose that content, create social media posts out of it, create visuals out of it. And then once you have like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 pieces of content from your one video or your one blog post, then you can fill in the gaps with that other stuff. So other thought leaders, you can have quotes from other people. You could go to Brainy Quote or whatever. You can even go to Creative Market and literally download pre-made packs of quotes and motivational sayings and things like that. Do not spare $50 and then take 2 days of your life to do this. There's resources out there. So look for those resources. And as you're mapping out all of your content, just make sure that you're balancing your buckets, right? So maybe on Mondays we talk about this, and Tuesdays we talk about this, and Wednesdays we show, behind the curtain of what's going on in our organization. Maybe we talk about a team member, maybe we talk about a guest experience, a testimonial, something like that. I don't know what your buckets are, but get clear on what those are, and then everything else flows pretty regularly. Now, in the interest of time, write this down. I'm going to walk you through it. We, as Amy mentioned, I kind of had a rough week. My son was in a great amount of pain, and I took him to the ER, and then we went to another ER, and then he ended up having an emergency appendectomy. And so we were in the hospital for several days as he was on IV antibiotics, because apparently a gangrenous appendix is not a good thing to have in your body. So we actually moved the launch of this. We will be launching it Black Friday through Cyber Monday, and we will be starting it the first week of December. So I will be with you through December, through January, goal setting, all that kind of stuff. It'll be fabulous. I'm actually way excited about this. But if you don't tell anybody, I'm going to go ahead and let you buy today if you would like. So what I want you to do, and hopefully you can still see this, I'm going to just take this code, because you are getting a discount just as if you were a part of an organization that I already work with. And just go to amberhurdle.com/Velvet Machete Leadership Academy. You can learn all about it, what you're going to get, all that good jazz, everything that we cover, what participants have said. That's what your digital certification will look like, that is verified and will automatically populate your LinkedIn. And so secret, I left this open just for you guys. You put in all your information here. You can make payments. It is $2,500, but it can be 2,000 with this code. So you go down here, do your coupon code, paste that right there. Ta-da! So you get $500 off. So if that's something that you're interested in and you want to do that now, then anyone who registers in the next 24 hours will also get a one and done personal branding session with me. So that's my gift to you for allowing me to hang out with you for these 3 weeks. It has to be done in the next 24 hours. I will not honor it after that, because I have to be able to map out my time. So if that is something that you would like, I would love to have you. And if you have questions and you're not ready to make the decision, amber@amberhurdle.com, and we can chat about it. But I do want to thank you so much for inviting me into your family. I know that you are a powerful group of women, and I look forward to the next time I get to share with you. Do we have
Amber,
any
thank you
questions?
for doing this. I appreciate it. Yeah, I think, let's see, I've got some tips too that I'll share after we answer some of these questions. So do you have any tips on focusing?
Yes. Oh, yes. So yesterday was my first day back in the office. No, this was Sunday. I was trying to replan everything because our plan completely got derailed. And so that meant not only did our lunch get derailed, but all of our social media and everything changed because of what happened. And so I just used my little Apple Watch, and I literally timed myself like a toddler, 5 minutes at a time. That is I was tired. I'd been sleeping in a hospital, and I do have ADD, so I wasn't on my game. And I timed myself every 5 minutes. My other tip that I often use is I have get it done playlists. So if you're like me, and if I'm writing, that might look like new age solo piano, it might look like classical music. If it's like I'm in an Excel spreadsheet or I'm researching or something, it might be Red Hot Chili Peppers, it might be, hardcore rock. Whatever works for you to keep you focused is what I would encourage you to do.
I have playlists for different parts of my activity as well. In
awesome.
fact, on Spotify, there's actually a Women's Summit playlist that created for the conference. So it's all like empowerment. So if you're looking for motivational music, you can find that one.
Yeah, now, and I do have the Bombshell Businesswoman playlist. If you'll just look through my blogs, there should be one in there as well.
There's also I love the Focus at Will. I haven't seen that. It's a $10 a month subscription that Christina's telling us about.
Cool.
Let's go back to these buckets for a second, Amber. So some of the buckets that you mentioned were like, okay, so if we're looking at our industry, would the buckets be topics that we would be writing about, or would they be, what's the word, like competitive advantages that we have?
I would put, so it's, your buckets are not just about you. Obviously, you want to have your key areas of expertise as some of those buckets, but then you also want buckets like humor, customer testimonials, that sort of thing as well, because you want to round out your entire online presence, or your even writing for publications like yours. I mean, you wouldn't include those, but you are one source, one outlet that they can use, but they need to think about their content plan holistically. So topics are really under the bucket. So for example, if I wanted to be a thought leader in the professional speaking industry, then one of the buckets might be booking new speaking engagements. Well, the topics under that could be the technology that you use, it could be the sales that the sales process that you use, it could be creating your website, creating your speaker reel. I mean, there's so many topics that can fit under that bucket. So I want you to think of it more as like big picture, and then all of your topics would be the blog posts, or maybe the blog series, even, if you will.
So another thing, just some of the tips that I have just in our industry. Can you see my screen yet?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I actually put together a book of quotes. It's on Amazon too, called The Power of Vacation. It's 365 quotes about the vacation rental industry. So anytime you want to pull a quote, most of you have this book already because you've seen it at conferences, and it's been free for a while at our shows. So anyway, so that's a really good source. The other thing that I use a lot is Shutterstock. So Shutterstock has an editor now. So if you go to edit, you go ahead and download an image, and then you can edit it. And then they've got these groovy little text.
Look at that.
So that you can create your own quotes, in any kind of thing, put some color behind it. So it's like, if you're using any stock photography, and most of your marketing people are, this is really fast. My other cheat sheet is Proofreading Pal.
Yes.
So if you're not comfortable with your writing, this is not a joke. They put 2 editors on it. So you can select if you want it done in 3. You can actually select if you want it done in 90 minutes.
Wow. How do I not know about this?
I know. So you just throw it in, you get 2 editors, and then you get a markup. You can accept their changes or not. But it's so good, and it's not expensive at all. It's cents per word. And then, of course, magazine-wise, just for a content idea, this is what Amber did with her industry brand stuff, is that, let me see if I can zoom in on this. Oops. Oh, by the way, did you check out that photo for the Women's Summit?
What's that?
The photo for our Women's Summit ad.
That's awesome.
I know, I'm so excited.
I love New Orleans.
I wanted to zoom in. Sorry, I've got so many of these GoToWebinar winners open. So like this whole thing about your brand solves X uniquely in this way for these specific people, will remember that from our first session. So Amber took that whole entire concept and turned it into building an article here. And I thought that was just a great example of that multiple levels of content. And then as far as categories and deciding, what to write about, you were talking about table of contents and chapters that you can get from this page on my site. Yeah, if you go to the magazine page on my site, which, by the way, I'm just gonna see if I can. Every obviously a magazine has a table of contents. So, and if you keep scrolling down, they're all here. All of the magazines are. So if you're doing B2B content, this is a great place to go through all the titles in the first couple of pages. And you can see what we were writing about too and what people have been talking about at different seasons. So I just wanted to show some resources.
Brilliant. So you can take like what I did, a concept that I taught, and then blow that up, or you can take a concept and you can make a series out of it. So maybe we cover the first part in part 1, and then you would link to the next one when you post the next video or blog post or whatever, and then you would link to the next one, and all of that backlinking on your site. So let's just say you do a YouTube video, make sure that you embed that on your site as well, because that's going to keep people on your site longer as they're clicking to get more and more information. And that's a really good thing for your site to be considered relevant by the Google gods. And then to piggyback on your editing pictures, I'm a big fan of Canva, so big that I used to be one of their like I was on their advisory committee or whatever when they were first really launching things up. But with that, it's, if you have the pro version, you can get beautiful stock photos, often free. Sometimes you might need to pay like 99 cents or whatever, but it's super easy. There's templates. It's canva.com. And
Canva's super easy. You're right.
Yeah.
Someone asked about the Shutterstock. Can you add? The upside of Shutterstock for me is that it's images, you know, since it is paid, their images are not going to find everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's not just free open source, but sometimes that's what you want.
Yeah.
I think somebody else mentioned Word Swag and Story Swag are amazing apps too for creating visuals. About the Shutterstock, yes, you can layer photos over photos. So if you have a logo that you want to put on top of the photo, you can.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, wait. Also, one of the ways that I keep myself focused, especially when I'm reading this, especially when I don't want to do something, is to tell myself, Heather, do this for the future you. Do this for future you. I love that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good.
And I'm going to miss y'all. This has been so nice. By the way, I miss y'all so much. Like, I miss being able to see everybody in person. Normally we would have had a dozen opportunities over the last few months to get together, and it just sucks not being able to.
Yeah. It's so important to stay engaged with each other on Facebook and things like this, because we're not going to be trapped for forever, and we'll want to make sure that we keep that connection as things progress, and hopefully we can meet again.
So Amber, I'm excited about the academy. It's a huge investment in time, and I've cleared some space for it, and I'm looking forward to the motivation and the focus that's going to come from it. One thing you will get, the rest of you, we'll send a feedback survey thing about this particular thing and see if we want to do more professional development series, content and stuff, things like that going forward. It's been for me, it's been great. I think we've gotten a lot of good feedback from everybody. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better and working with you, Amber. I'm looking forward to having you join us at the Vacation Rental Women's Summit. Just another little anecdotal story. Our event planner at the Ritz-Carlton, after our conference, bought 2 vacation rentals.
Wow.
She is now a full-on Vrbo host. She has a couple of people asking her to manage them for her. And I have a feeling by the time that we have this, she will actually be a vacation rental manager. So it's like, her name is Kim. But she was so inspired by this group that she's actually turned into a vacation rental owner and provider. And she's having a blast with it. She's in Pensacola.
That's amazing.
I know. It's crazy. She's like, we're going to buy 3 more this year.
Wow. Good for her. That's amazing.
So I thought everybody would like to hear that. Anyway, Amber, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. And the rest of you, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of the week. If you're in fire zones or hurricane zones, so are we. So stay safe and let us know if there's anything we can do for you. I hope you guys have a great afternoon. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.